Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Claire. Today's episode, we'll see how this goes. I'm solo, so that's already a unique detail in and of itself. As I was getting ready to run a couple of errands, I just realized that I would like to share what's going on, document it for myself, and then also just in the state that I'm in with the things that I'm dealing with. I'm like, I don't know. I want to say it feels very isolating. I don't know that that's necessarily true because people have been really supportive, but it's very confusing and overwhelming. So anyway, I just want to share in regards to what's happened over the last roughly 5 weeks. And this is specific to my health. And so as a person who is a personal trainer and a nutrition coach, this is what I do for a living, is help other people get their health back together and get moving vibrantly and things that, like, it's the coolest job to get to do. And also then right now I'm in this season that's really hard with my health, and it's a strange place to be in. So we know that from June 2023, if you're new here, maybe you don't, but June 2023 to June 2024, I lived in an apartment that was infested with mold. In January of 2024 is whenever daily hives started as a symptom. And I have a whole podcast episode that came out within the first, I'd say, 60 days after I moved out last summer with Nikki Elkjer. She's another personal trainer locally who also is still going through her own mold journey, healing from her situation. She lived in hers a little bit longer. But anyway, that episode I'll put that in the description. But if you want to go watch that, that's a lot earlier in the process for me. And then also it has her story as well and some of the recommendations that we can make there based on what we had learned up to that point. So this is now, so it's the end of April. Tomorrow's 4 years sober for me, by the way. That's really cool. I haven't even had a chance to think much about that. But if I think about the days on the calendar, then that's literally tomorrow. And it's my mom's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. I love you. So yeah, June 2024 to now April, end of April. So we're talking a full 10 months, almost 11 months after the fact of having moved out and started doing all of my healing stuff. At the time that I moved out from that apartment, my hives were really bad. And I don't know if you could probably see them on my knees. They're all over me still. But, those were every day. But the cognitive symptoms, like I said, I think maybe I'll just leave that to that episode. But the dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea, fatigue, all of these things that were going on, anxiety. It was getting gnarly. The aches and pains in my joints. I'd gained a bunch of weight, probably 15 to 20 pounds. And just gradually through that process and couldn't figure it out. And as a nutrition coach, that was interesting. I now know a lot of that is inflammation and literally all of the toxins and just the burden to my body, and it's just stress load. And so anyway, for about 10 months almost, I was gradually healing and I thought I was making good headway. And then about 5 weeks ago, something happened, and I still don't know exactly what, unfortunately, but things started to go downhill again. And so by that point, I was losing weight, which was awesome because it's not the natural body weight that I want to be at. I want to be a little bit leaner. And I had definitely put on more than I was comfortable in. And so that was wonderful. The hives were lessening, whereas I had daily hives every day for over a year. It had reached a point where I didn't have them every day, and they were very minimal. And I will say too, early on in that journey, I was getting this thing called advanced allergy treatments, which was a thing that calms your nervous system. It's non-invasive, and it made them tolerable. And so I did that while I was living in this situation, but I was not reliant on antihistamines for any of that. But at this point, have been on them for 5 weeks continuously. And so, yeah, I travel for work. I'm very grateful to get to do that. But I traveled for a trip for work, and the hives went crazy. And I know it was long hours, stress, heat, sunlight, all of these different things that are going to trigger a histamine response if you're going to have one. I knew it was a possibility. But I came back home and they didn't stop. And so whereas I had gotten to the point where I didn't have them most days and was like, man, I'm really doing good on this healing. That's where it started backslipping. So since then, like I said, I've been on the antihistamines, and at this point, they got the hives to go away. They don't get them to go away anymore. They do make them more tolerable. They're not as itchy. I'm still itchy, but it's not as miserable. So that started and kept going. And then some of the cognitive stuff slowly started to slip back in. So at this point, I'm like checking my environment, looking at what could I be exposed to right now? What is happening? Like, why is this happening again? And I guess that flare-ups after being exposed to mold is not uncommon. And certainly it's a season here where there's a lot environmentally going on. Mold is higher than usual, but it's always high in Austin. Or it's present throughout the calendar year, and it's elevated right now. So we're working through that. But back whenever I found the mold, I was told I needed to work with a functional medicine doctor. And when I went to try to find one to work with, it was really expensive and it was just something I couldn't afford. And so I chose to try to piece it together. I did blood work, shout out Ways to Well. They're wonderful. But I did blood work and started supplementing with that. And then did a one-time deal with a registered dietitian as well. Started working through some stuff, and we just kind of came to the point of like, okay, that initial thing that didn't work. But yet I'd been doing better. So anyway, over these past 5 weeks, the hives have come back. Now, so the inflammation grows. With that comes the inflammation. But let's see, 2 weeks ago, I was in a building that I know I have a response to. This is like the one physical location that I know like triggers me. And what that feels like is like dizziness, lightheadedness, just overwhelm, like feeling very disoriented, headache, of course, and fatigue. And so I was in that building and it rapidly happened. Like I was getting really elevated, and keep in mind now at this point, the hives they're ongoing. I can't stop them. They're back. But I got so overwhelmed. I wasn't there for very long, and I had to leave far earlier than I was planned to be there. And shortly after I left, my like vision went double for a little bit, and that was a first. So that freaked me out. But then a week and a day ago, we took a trip for Jimmy's birthday, and we arrive in Las Vegas, where we're supposed to be for 5 days. And within a few hours of landing there, things are really ramping up. Like the hives are coming out everywhere. And throughout the maybe first 6 hours of being there, it escalated so severely, so quickly that my whole body, like my whole limbs, my whole trunk, all the way up my neck, on like covering my face, everything, it turned from like single individual hives. I think I might be able to show you because there's some right there. I don't know if we'll keep that in, but that might be a good example of what they look like. Yeah, you can see a few right there. And of course on my knees. So anyway, my whole body gets so covered up that I need medical aid because it was also making me nervous. I was swelling everywhere, including my throat, but everything was swelling. So I went ahead and went to an urgent care, and I want to be really clear with all of this. I'm just like sharing my experience as I go. This is not medical advice. I'm going to tell you what happened with me. But so I go to an urgent care, and I'm literally praying for a doctor who will listen to me, because we know the system is set up the way that it is. You got to get people in, get people out. And I couldn't believe it. The doctor that I saw in a late night urgent care in Las Vegas, he said, you have idiopathic angioedema, which is a term for this chronic hives. And he said, this is now what, you would be diagnosed with autoimmune for sure, which we're going to explore and figure stuff out. But anyway, he said, your immune system, and I'm paraphrasing what he said because I don't have it recorded and can't remember exactly, but he was just saying your immune system is attacking everything, like everything. And so I've done so much studying in the past week alone on the immune system in the body and autoimmune disease, of course, and what I can be doing. And because this has gotten so bad so fast, that's the first time that I've been in such an acute situation that he did prescribe a steroid for me to get through the trip. And my understanding of that, of how that works, is it basically shuts off the immune system's functions. And it very clearly states on the bottle, like, beware of, exposing yourself to infection. You're susceptible. And of course, everyone got sick, including me. So that was great. I didn't even mention, like 2 weeks ago, I spent one full day in bed anyway, because that's happened so much here recently. I've slept so much in the past week and a half that it almost isn't even noteworthy anymore. But that was another random middle of the week day where I got out of bed to eat, and that was it. And it was one of the day. There's one day where I have tasks to do that I don't have clients in person per week, and that was that day. And anyway, so I took the steroid, and of course that has some interesting effects. And it was bizarre how over the next 24 hours, even in the next few hours, I got such relief because it turned the systems that were freaking out off. And so I wish I had photos of like the 24 hours apart. I've taken photos of so much stuff. I'm quite upset I didn't, but, I have some pictures of, and it's crazy. It doesn't even look like my body, because it's so puffed up, but of what I looked like before I went to the doctor, and then what I look like even 6 hours later, much less 24 hours later. Like, it went from this puffy head to toe red, whatever, to quite a few visible abs. The vein in my arm is coming back out to play, you name it, right? Like, it just like pulled all the inflammation out. And of course it totally subdued the hives. And so for the first time in a very long time, I had 5 days where I wasn't persistently itchy. And as that has returned since I've come off the steroid, because that's not a long-term solution, or I don't want it to be, the itchiness has come back, and I'm like, oh, and I'm on the antihistamine too still. So I can't even imagine what this would feel like, if I wasn't on that right now. So with that doctor, he said, you need to work with a functional medicine doctor. Given what's going on with you, given what's going on with your immune system, everything that's like, you need that kind of help. And so that felt very affirming, because that's what I was told a year ago, but it was expensive. And so I just tried to piece it together myself. But in the state that I'm in right now, like, I have upcoming travels I'm really looking forward to for work opportunities and just like quality of life, got to get this figured out. And so anyway, I've scheduled with a functional medicine doctor, so I haven't begun work yet, but I'm diving so deep into everything I can be doing from a dietary perspective that I haven't already tried. The original stuff, that registered dietitian had put me on a low histamine thing. I did that for quite a while. I didn't notice any meaningful change, although I was generally improving. And then I started to reintroduce high histamine foods, which is not unhealthy foods, and didn't notice any issue at all. So I kept chugging along and was doing fine until about 5 weeks ago. But anyway, I guess, the past week, I finally got to go back to the gym last night for the first time in a week. I tried to go back to the gym when I was on the steroid and it was so painful. I got so sore from doing very little, which is not normal for me. And it was just a unique experience. So this is all new. And like I said, I think, like, I don't have solutions for any of this yet. I'm going to proceed with care that I was trying to avoid because of cost. And so I'll have more to say about it over the course of time, but it's been an interesting season in life. Things have been going really well this calendar year. Obviously, I got freaking engaged in January, which is the coolest thing ever. Things had been like, I was just saying not even long ago, I'm like, this is what it's like to have normal energy again, where I don't need naps or anything. And I just I'm so energetic, and I'm so driven to train, and I love my training, and I want to train hard, and that's what I'm used to. That's what I was used to until this sickness started in 2024. And then now to have had some sort of re-exposure, some sort of triggering event occur that's just like backslid all of it. You know, man, the photos, if you hadn't seen from like the day that I did the CrossFit competition, which I was so happy to get to do. And we won, and that was like, it was a small competition, but it was so awesome. But like my skin the morning of was bad. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think I just want to tell the truth about what's going on, because a lot of people have health struggles. A lot of people have struggles in general. And like I said, there's this part of this for me that feels like you help people get healthy for a living, and this is you know, but there are factors that have been outside of my control. And I've thought it, you know, movement is medicine. We say that all the time. I'm such a, you know, we've got plenty of evidence to support why movement is medicine. I was just on a call last week with my coaching group that we do those calls every single week. And for everyone that's in my app, that'll be in the description below. It's a cool crew. Anyway, and we were talking about all the benefits of movement, you know, and how it the way that it signals satiety for the remainder, that there's just so many benefits to your mental health through training, your physical health through training, etc. And obviously I'm going to need the support of and that's the thing is right now I want guidance and support. I tried to piece it together by myself last year, and I want some help now. And so I'm going to be willing to pay a solid price tag for some guidance here, even as somebody who understands nutrition pretty well. Now knowing that at this season of my life, based on the toxic stress burden overload, systems are just on the fritz, guts on the fritz, cells are on the fritz, immune system's on the fritz. So I'm going to walk through this journey, but I think the main thing is I just have been like eerily quiet on the internet for like a week and a half or something, maybe a little longer. And that's just like not normal. And I don't want to do that. So I'll keep you guys posted about how this goes. I'm definitely diving into some dietary shifts right now for inflammatory purposes, because I'm having such an inflammatory response to life. But I'll let myself kind of work through some stuff and have more to say later. But just an update that for me, with my experience with mold, it made me really sick. And apparently it's triggered some down chain issues, which have just made themselves really evident, and healing isn't linear. And I'm so grateful for people like Nikki that I had that podcast episode with, that, you know, sadly she's had a hard time with the ebbs and flows of it too. And learning that like, oh, flaring back up well after the fact is actually like normal. Wow. So anyway, I'm not an expert on any of it, but I do care to share my experience about it. And I will be updating as we continue to navigate more tests. And I think that's the thing is I did the blood work, but that was it. And I'm going to do a stool test. I'm going to do a number of different things now, dig deeper. And that should look different supplementation wise and all that. So anyway, okay. I think I want to wrap this up with gratitudes, because it's always a good way to wrap things up. One, if you are still here, you know what? This is like probably my first ever just outright solo. So I'm grateful for you, for your time that you chose to spend this time with me and care enough, or maybe that it's helpful and that you feel less alone. And I mean, like that would certainly be the hope with this, is that like someone feels identified with. Yeah. Cause I definitely have clients who are navigating their own unique health struggles, and knowing that you're not the only one out there trying to piece it together, even if it isn't answers as we also desperately want, and solutions as we also desperately want, in situations like this, it can feel somewhat, I guess, therapeutic to know that like other people also struggle. But like, let's do the work and let's not struggle. And I'm going to do food as medicine, like harder than ever now. And anyway, I'm grateful for you and your time, and I hope you've had a beautiful week. I am grateful for Jimmy's support through all of this as I'm navigating seeking care that's non-traditional, and how patient he's been with me as I've been not myself. And then also just supportive of those actions to heal, of like trusting myself with all of this. And then I think I'm grateful for my faith, because I don't know. And it's been interesting too, because I feel like I'm more God reliant today than ever before, like in life in general. And then these past couple of weeks, I've been so consumed by everything else that like even my prayer routine has been off, and that's not normal. And so that's I've been feeling like, okay, wait, this is the time that you lean in. You know, but I always lean in. And when things are good, I like lean in more on that, which is almost weird. But anyway, so I'm certainly grateful for faith, because I can turn to God and take all of this and like ask to be rid of self-pity and fear and all of these different things, and for God to just like use this. And anyway, just it's a lot more peaceful than life was before having that. So those will be my 3 gratitudes today. And yeah, I just I think that's it. I hope that you choose to have a beautiful day.